Are off. Michelle Malkin is here because the cameras are on. She is live in Colorado Springs. Michelle, you're also author of Culture of Corruption. Michelle, I guess first off, you are not necessarily a fan of Rick Perry. Something he did over the last 11 years you just can't get past.
Well, there are a lot of things, and I think I'm going to have to tweet Gene Simmons about them and get him educated and informed. I think all voters, and particularly conservative ones, really need to examine and scrutinize Rick Perry's record as governor. He is running on that now in his 2012 bid, and one of the decisions, infamous decisions that he made, was the subject of my column yesterday, and it's up at my website with extensive background links and citations. This was the executive order that he tried to shove down parents' and children's throats in 2007 to mandate that all 6th grade girls, we're talking about 10 and 11-year-old girls, be forced to take the Gardasil vaccine in order to enroll in school. And there are a number of problems with this. This isn't some sort of single-issue, one-off mistake, the way that the Perry campaign is trying to play it off as. There was an element of cronyism involved because his former chief of staff was a lobbyist for the manufacturer of the vaccine. Of course, there was the very troublesome use of his executive authority to run roughshod over the legislature and skip any input before he put it into place. And then there was a sort of human shield demagoguery that we've seen from the Obama administration, where he surrounded himself with very sympathetic cervical cancer victims in order to shield himself from these tough questions about the decision that he made.
Michelle, can I jump in here? Listen, I'm a big fan of Rick Perry, but I'm a big fan of Michelle Malkin. I get it. I understand it. But you know, we're in a situation where the country needs some help. We need to create jobs. I think don't we need to separate the fiscal conservatives with the social conservatives? I mean, you can make a case that he may not be as socially conservative as you would like, but the real important issue right now for the next year and a half is the economy, and this guy, for my buck, is the one who's most able, most capable of turning the economy around, bringing us back to the power we once were.
Well, I don't have any argument with you, Eric, that we need to focus on fiscal matters. We need to focus more clearly on limited government matters. And what I'm talking about is absolutely a limited government issue. You didn't hear me say anything about social issues one way or the other. Now, there were some social conservative groups that were very concerned that this decision would have promoted sexual activity among kids, but that was not my main concern, and I didn't even mention it in my column. I'm talking about whether an executive is going to abuse his power to force mandates down parents' throats. We've seen this administration, this current administration, do enough of executive orders and administrative fiat and legislating behind closed doors. And what Rick Perry did was something that was very much along those lines. And I'm concerned about it, and I know that a lot of people are, and that's why the state legislature rebuked him and repealed the executive order in the first place.
He did say it was a mistake, and you had a great line in your column that said basically toughen up Buttercup. To those who were insulted, say it's going to get a lot tougher than Michelle Malkin in a column.
Well, look, his entire record is going to be up for scrutiny. That should be our job. The GOP primary season is not about coronating any one candidate and telling critics who are conservative, who have principles about liberty and are consistent about them, to shut up and be quiet so that a single candidate could be elected. I'm going to do this with every single one of them. I hold Obama accountable for his rhetoric versus his record, and I'll do the same for every GOP candidate who announces for president.
Good. That was going to be my next question, because I was going to say that probably with every candidate you can find a mistake here and there, or tons of them, for that matter.
It's why I'm not running. I cannot take
it's why Brian's not running.
And neither am I.
Yeah.
All right. I want to get to this next topic, which is flash mobs. They've become a big problem. Specifically, I'm thinking about in the Pennsylvania area, Philadelphia, where they've had to invoke these curfews at 9 p.m. because they've turned into violent nights. What's your take on this?
Well, there's a lot of different kind of outbreaks that are taking place across the country and around the world, for that matter. We've seen in London and Greece these sort of left-wing social unrest riots that are primarily based on welfare state grievances. But we also have seen a troubling trend in this country of these kind of race-based riots. And it's explicit. We don't have to guess about what's happening here. You have victims who are white or Asian talking in and testifying to the fact that there are minority gangsters, many of them young black thugs in inner cities and outside of inner cities, who have been targeting them explicitly because they are non-black. And people in the mainstream media do not want to talk about this. I mean, who are the racial cowards here? So that's why I think it was so significant that Mayor Nutter particularly singled out that element in Philadelphia, but it's not isolated. I mean, here in Colorado, in the Denver area last year, there were a bunch of young black thugs who were specifically going after Asian victims, beating them with baseball bats and bragging about it, and nobody in the media wanted to talk about
Michelle,
this very troubling, poisonous racial element.
You're not suggesting that these flash mobs are targeting white and Asian businesses, are you? I mean, aren't they just targeting business in general because things are so tough on the street?
Well, like I said, there are different kinds of these violent attacks going on, and there is a subset that is specifically targeting non-blacks. And go to New York City, Philadelphia, where Asian students in high schools have been targeted by black students, and where this the division is being fomented and festering without anybody stepping in and calling out the perpetrators. We certainly haven't heard the kind of leadership in the minority leadership community, people in the Congressional Black Caucus, follow in Mayor Nutter's footsteps. They should.
Right. Yeah, well, he was very courageous in coming out, also an African-American. Good to see you, Michelle, and we'll read your columns. Thanks so much.
You too. Take care.
All right, Michelle.